Again, a very warm welcome to all of our attendees. We hope you enjoyed your long weekend last week, if you did take it, and as well as the public holiday. And we want to also say thank you very much for everybody that reached out to us on some of their questions and some of the toolbox topics that you want to hear during the course of the following months. One of the questions that came up quite a bit was, what is a health and safety representative? What are your responsibilities and roles within a company, specifically looking at plumbing? And we have gotten back to all of you with regards to the actual manuals, with regards to section 17, 18, 19, and 20 of the OHS Act. But we thought we would just have a toolbox talk this morning based on OHS representative, what they are, what you should be doing in terms of legislation, and how should you go about either nominating or electing a health and safety representative, or if you have already been appointed as a health and safety representative, what are some of the responsibilities you should be taking care of? But let's get straight into it this morning for health and safety representatives. Now, if you'd like some more information on this, we have full manuals, obviously, because we are a training provider. We do CETA accredited training for health and safety representatives, and we can also offer you the actual manual that we hand out to all of our attendees of these courses. So if you'd like that manual, it will give you some good insight on what a health and safety rep should actually do. We can PDF that through to you. I'll also put it onto the Dropbox under health and safety training manuals. So be on the lookout for that new shared folder on the Dropbox link. There's two Dropbox links at the moment. There's going to be one for the health and safety file template. We'll put it on there, as well as the Toolbox Talk information Dropbox link, where we will put that on for you as well. If you haven't got those links, please let us know. Otherwise, if you just want the manual emailed to you, we can do that for you as well. Now, according to the Health and Safety Act, this is the OHS Act, under section 17, it outlines what a health and safety representative is and who should be appointed and when should you be appointing a health and safety representative. Now, please remember, and we mention this quite often, the OHS Act is the minimum compliance for companies. And being minimum compliant means when you have 20 employees or more, you have to have one health and safety representative that is designated for your company. But again, since it's the minimum requirement, there is no law against you having a health and safety representative if you only have 10 employees. See, the principle of what you're going to gain in benefits of having somebody who runs this part or representation activity within the company will also be there whether you have 10 or 20 employees. But please remember, if you have 20 employees or more, you must have by law designated one health and safety representative. Now, how is this done? Well, a health and safety representative must be nominated or elected. Nominated can be done either through the employer that sits down and takes a look at who is a full-time person that knows and understands the work of the actual scope that you are providing, such as the plumbing works that you're performing. They also know and understand the site, the various different activities that you perform. So you don't want somebody representing your employees that have no idea of the risks and hazards that they face on a daily basis. So a lot of thought, a lot of information for the health and safety representative needs to be gathered on an individual person, as well as their background, their training, their competency, and somebody who's really going to stand out, as well as somebody who wants to be appointed in this position. All too often, we are finding companies just saying that person is the health and safety rep, and that's it, without the person even having an opportunity to comment on it. But we also need to get employees involved. Remember, the health and safety representative is representing the health and safety of the employees. And so the employees have a choice in the matter. When somebody is nominated or elected by the company, it has to go through a process where the employees themselves then have another election based on if they approve of that person becoming their health and safety representative. So it's very important for a company to have some sort of process of how they go about nominating or electing a health and safety representative, as well as what is the process flow of educating this person to become more competent in the duties and activities of a health and safety rep, as well as the involvement of other employees. And how have you considered them before you have gone ahead and nominated or appointed this health and safety representative? Then the law says that only full-time employees are allowed to be considered as a health and safety representative. Now, if you are in an office or shop environment, and here we're talking about retail shops, not necessarily a shop like a workshop, this will fall into other workplaces, as you see there on the fourth line. Offices or shops need one health and safety representative from 20 employees for every 100 employees thereafter. So from 20 employees to 100 employees for offices and shops, you have to have one health and safety representative. In every other workplace, which is generally going to be the case for most of the plumbers out there, you will have to have one health and safety representative from 20 employees to 50 employees. That means as soon as you employ person number 51, you will have to have two health and safety representatives. It must also be understood that all health and safety representation activities must be conducted during normal working hours. So this basically means that if you are appointed or you are appointing a health and safety representative, this person who has undertaken this responsibility doesn't need to do more hours of work. Remember, we're not paying additional money for a health and safety representative. This person is very much like a firefighter or a first aider. You're appointed in these positions in order to assist in health and safety matters, but it takes time out of your normal working routine. And so that time that is taken out of normal working routine must still be counted to your normal working hours. So please remember, especially for the employers out there, we do not want you to take advantage of health and safety representatives, explaining to them that they must still perform all their normal duties as well as health and safety activities. It does take time to ensure all these activities are done. So please have an allowance or have a time budgeted aside for these persons. Then a health and safety rep must be appointed on a legal document in writing for a specific period as well as for a specific site or area. So a lot of health and safety reps, if you have 20 employees and you are appointing this health and safety rep just for your company, please be specific about what part of the company they are representing. Is it just the workforce from the employee's perspective? Is it for your offices as well? Is it for your office staff? Could it be the entire company because it's a smaller company with 20 or less employees and you want to appoint a health and safety representative, please just be specific on this type of appointment. If your sites require this, as a client of yours needs to have you on site and they are requiring you that you have a health and safety representative, then you can have an additional appointment where you appoint a competent person for that specific site. So let's say you're going to Woolworths to start doing plumbing there. You can then have a separate health and safety appointment for that specific site. So please remember, a health and safety representative is not a mandatory requirement for every company. Once you have 20 employees, it does become mandatory, but you can learn and benefit a lot if you decide to consider this, even if you don't have 20 employees. And we can also assist you in guiding you through the entire process, as well as through the training system of how to get a health and safety representative competent. Then also, if the Department of Labor visits your site or your company and decides that you must appoint a health and safety representative or more than one health and safety representative, they are within their legal right to do that. You can dispute this through the chief executive of the Department of Labor. You've got 7 days in order to dispute this, but we prefer that you take a look seriously at the recommendation. Remember, again, it's the minimum requirement. And so if we really want to pursue a very high standard of health and safety, perhaps we're going to raise our bar of our health and safety system and appoint a health and safety rep, even though we only have 5 employees. It really depends on your focus and where you are going to drive your management system. Now that tells us what a health and safety rep is, but what is a health and safety rep supposed to do? And a lot of questions coming through is the health and safety rep the same as a safety officer? Well, not at all. That is a big no. A health and safety rep and a safety officer are two completely different entities. They have different roles and responsibilities. However, the goal and target of both of them is exactly the same. So, yes, the management system of a company, the health and safety of a company, is one goal that we are striving for. Lower risk, lower incidents, a lot less accidents. Obviously, we want to eliminate risks and hazards. And so, a health and safety rep, as well as a health and safety officer, will always strive for this. But actually, everyone in the company will strive for that. So, that doesn't mean that everyone has the same position, but we do all have the same responsibility toward health and safety. And that is to enforce, as far as our scope of authority is, the adherence to the health and safety legislation. So a firefighter would make sure that he has a proactive approach in preventing fires, not just putting out fires when there is a fire. You see, the best way to stop a fire is to be preventative, not allow fires to actually happen. That's better than the reactive case of putting out a fire should there be one. And this is the same with a first aider. A first aider would want to look at a proactive approach to take a look at risks and hazards in the workplace. As you see there on point number 2 of the functions of a health and safety representative, identify potential hazards and potential major incidents at the workplace and bring this to the awareness of employees, employers, as well as the health and safety committee or responsible person in the company. And that goes a long way to preventing incidents and accidents. Now, a first aider would want to do that instead of only providing first aid assistance when necessary. That is part of the scope of authority, but the biggest part of the scope of a first aider is to prevent first aid incidents and accidents. And this is the same as the functions of a health and safety representative. So at times you might want to review the effectiveness of health and safety measures. Now, where would you find the measures of health and safety? Well, this would be in your policies, your health and safety plan, your procedures for any safe work, as well as your risk assessment. And all of that will help you to review whether it is effective or not. Then obviously working together with your employer, perhaps there are incidents at the workplace, and you might want to also examine the cause of this. Now, you might need additional training in root cause analysis or incident and accident investigation techniques, but you can basically try and underline what caused this incident so that we can try and prevent it from happening again. We also want to investigate complaints by employees relating to health or safety at work. Please remember, you are not an HR person. So if the person needs leave or time off, or they need additional pay or wages, that has got nothing to do with the health and safety aspect. And so if they have issues with incidents and accidents, risk assessments, understanding certain documentation, or perhaps needing some more reviews of Toolbox talk, risk assessments, health and safety documentation, you can then maybe assist them in guiding them as to what is the legal requirement for them as an employee. Then, with all these information that you're receiving from employees, you need to represent yourself to the employer, which means you should have a meeting with your employer on a regular basis. Now, if you're part of a health and safety committee, then that's going to be a lot more structured. If you are just one health and safety rep in a company, it might be a bit haphazard. But what our suggestion is to really try and document and put down on a calendar exactly when you are going to have meetings with your health and safety representative. And employers, if you are listening, if you are joining in today, please make time for your health and safety representative. It's a vital part of your whole management system. They will tell you what is happening on the ground level, what is happening with the employees on site. And if you are one of those employers rather, that is working together with your team, well, that's even better because you are going to add a lot more commitment to what the health and safety rep is going to do for you. Now, as a health and safety representative, you should also notify your employer on general matters affecting health and safety. Now, you'll notice that you review, you identify, you make representations, and you notify. You may even inspect the workplace, but you never actually implement documented health and safety management systems. This is the responsibility of a health and safety officer or health and safety manager, dependent on how the structure is. So a health and safety rep basically looks at whether what is implemented by the employer and the actual health and safety officer is being done effectively. And this helps the health and safety rep to get the information from the employees and takes it back to the employer. And what this helps the employer to do is see whether what they have implemented is actually being done on site. So if a Department of Labor inspector visits you, you could participate in consultations with them, find out what the law requires of you or as a company. You may even accompany them when they do their inspections of the workplace to try and gain more insight into what is a legal requirement for your company. Then you might attend meetings. If you are part of a committee, so if you have 2 health and safety reps, then you have to be a part of a health and safety committee, and you must attend every single health and safety committee meeting. If you are doing investigations in collaboration with your employer, then you will need to visit the site of incidents and accidents. But please ensure that you do this at reasonable times. Don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and decide you need to now take a look at this and then force everybody to open up the offices. We do this at reasonable times when our normal working requirement is allowing us to be on site. You will also attend investigations or formal inquiries, specifically from the Department of Labor. You will also inspect health and safety documentation. So you will not develop health and safety documentation, but you may inspect it to check and verify whether it is actually effective in mitigating the risks on site. And then you can also participate in any internal health or safety audit. And this will help you to see what your current standing of health and safety is and where you should be pushing yourself to go. So as a recap, if you have 20 employees or more, you have to have a health and safety rep. If you work in a shop or office, you have to have a health and safety rep from 20 employees to 100 employees. If you work in any other workplace other than a shop or office, you have to have one health and safety rep from every 20 employees to 50 employees. You can only appoint or nominate a full-time employee. You must have a documented process for nominating and electing a health and safety rep. And please ensure, as soon as you have your second health and safety rep, you must institute a health and safety committee. So very briefly, we want to explain to you what a health and safety committee is. We don't want to take too much time because our majority of time was spent on health and safety representatives. But Section 19 and Section 20 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act will do the same as 17 and 18. 19 tells you what a health and safety committee is, and Section 20 will tell you the functions of that health and safety committee. So again, if you have 2 or more health and safety reps, you have to establish a health and safety committee. Every health and safety representative within that company will belong to a committee. So perhaps on very large organizations, you might have 10 health and safety representatives, one for a workshop, one for sites, and one for office-based. So you might have 3 different committees within the company. Please ensure that all health and safety reps belong to at least one of those committees. The employer must designate members. In other words, you have to be appointed in writing as a health and safety rep as well as a member, and then any additional members. So if you have an advisory member, maybe you have a technical member that you need to appoint as well, then these will also be designated by the employer. And then please, according to the law, health and safety committee meetings must happen once every 3 months at a minimum. Our encouragement or our suggestion from OHSS is to perhaps have it once every month if you can. Set aside the time every month so you can handle the things of the month, especially more important things at the beginning, and then move on to every single month as you get these information in so that you can keep as up to date as possible. 3 months, although it doesn't seem like a very long time, is a lot of information to get through in a meeting. And oftentimes 80% of the meeting can be cut down because of non-essential discussions. So please streamline your meetings, make sure you've got a goal and a purpose. And a way to do that is to designate a chairperson who is going to guide and make sure that that meeting runs in the correct manner. Then, as we mentioned, if you designate an advisory member, this could be somebody who has technical information on specific health and safety aspects or even your scope of work aspects. This person doesn't have the right to vote when you're in that committee, but what you can do is help that person to understand your problem. And from a technical or advisory side, they will give you information on how to correct it. Now, the functions or what you should be doing as a committee is to initiate, develop, promote, and maintain health and safety. So in collaboration with your employer, generally speaking, you're going to be working with the health and safety officer or manager in developing and promoting health and safety within the company. You will also make recommendations to the employer. You will discuss all incidents and accidents in the workplace. You will report to the Department of Labor if necessary, and you need to record everything and keep all these records of all your actions that you perform as a health and safety committee. Now, on a very big note, a very big NB, super important, employers must make sure committees comply with the OHS Act. They must give backing. Any institute, anything that lacks management backing will fail in time. So management, please ensure that you are fully backing and are committed to the goals and targets of your health and safety reps, as well as your health and safety committees. So as a recap, when will you have to have a health and safety committee? As soon as you have 2 health and safety representatives. You must hold meetings at a minimum every 3 months. You will discuss all health and safety related issues. You must be a member if you're a health and safety representative. You can have advisory members that will sit on there as well. A very important one, you cannot have more other members than you have OHS representatives. There must always be the same or more health and safety representatives than any other member. And very importantly, you must have full support from management. So thank you very much for joining us this morning.